Hi guys, it's Frankie from Frankie Tech. Good to see you guys again, and a happy Easter to you all. Taking some time definitely this week to spend time with family, but at the same time guys, I also wanted to drop this video on the Black Shark 4 Pro and let you guys know that this is my review and final video of this device. And you may be wondering, Frankie Tech, are you serious? I thought you just picked this device up. And not only that I was just able to get the Play Store on this device as well. Yes, those are all true. And you know what? In many ways, this Black Shark 4 is a terrific device. It's a gamer's dream. And I think for most gamers out there, this is exactly what you would want in a phone. And yet, let me explain. There's some reasons it's kind of lacking the appeal a little bit than its previous generations. And also the reasoning behind why I just can't keep this phone, guys, and there's other devices that I need to review in its place very soon. But first, quick summary of the specs. Of course, we had a really beautifully built device with this aluminum edge, and it's a pretty hefty unit, 9.9 millimeters, 220 grams, more heavy than a lot of the phones I've been using, like the Poco F3 or the Xiaomi Mi 11. All those devices have a more sleek feel to them. And there's just something about maybe the metallic edge of this device that just feels a little bit antiquated at this point. It's not to say it's a bad design, but I do feel, gaming phones do need to evolve as well. And right now, they're kind of going for this type of look with more LEDs on the back. And I do love this kind of Black Shark look. The triangular, almost kind of hexagonal camera cutout there looks really, really nice. It's kind of a unique look. And yet at the same time, you got phones out there like the K40 Pro or the Mi 11 with these gorgeous matte backs. This is a very subtle design. It's not going to be for everyone. But one big reason why this phone is also super appealing, but also in a way has lost its appeal, is because of this display. We have a 6.67 inch, 144 hertz display. Now, don't get me wrong. I think this display is tremendous. And, a lot of you guys out there have said, deal breaker. Obviously, you have a chin on this device, but now that you have a punch hole, no longer having that immersive display that you had on previous generations. And I get it, guys. In some ways, this is a more immersive display. And of course, the ultimate refresh rate, 144 hertz, does help out a lot. It's a buttery, smooth experience. And yet the feeling I've had with this display, guys, is that I've seen it before. Despite the slightly higher refresh rate, when you look at other phones that I've been testing, like the Redmi K40 Pro, the Poco F3, or even the Redmi Note 10 Pro, they all have a similar display. In fact, the display is the same size. I think it's the same panel, minus the refresh rate. But you know what? When you really kind of use these day to day, do you notice 120 hertz versus 144? You barely notice it. I mean, maybe if you're really searching for it, you can tell it's a bit smoother, but it's still super buttery smooth on a phone like the Poco F3. And so in a way, this phone, by trying to become more of a mainstream device, has kind of been lost in the mix, by adopting this display that, while beautiful, is kind of just more of a generic phone display with a center punch hole that I think a lot of you guys didn't like. But when it comes to performance, of course, this thing is a beast with a Snapdragon 888, and this is the 256 gigs of storage version, and I've loved the performance of this device. If you see my Genshin Impact video, you see also that gaming on this Black Shark 4 Pro is next level. And just take it to the next level with these trigger buttons, which I think is just a very cool gamer-centric innovation. And for all of you guys out there who are into games and who want to use those trigger-type buttons, I think the Black Shark 4 Pro does it best in the entire gamer market with those physical trigger buttons. Now, of course, this being the China variant, it has L3. That was expected, but is kind of a bummer when you think about all the other phones being released, even the Redmi K40 Pro or the Xiaomi Mi 11 China variants, all having L1 security level. And there's no denying also, because this is the China variant, there is a lot of bloat on this phone. I mean, there's just a ton of bloat and a ton of games that obviously they're the China variant games. But until I was able to get the Play Store running on this device, it was really hard to be able to review this device. And now, yes, you could use it in some capacity, but I do think I gotta mention this, that the JoyUI 12.5 update is essentially the MIUI 12.5 update, which is proving Google Apps are no longer supported on these future releases of software on Xiaomi China variant phones. And unless you have some secret method that you can use, that I can't even disclose, guys, how to get Google Apps on this phone, I can't really recommend this China variant, because you will not be able to run Google Apps on this device, downloading them in the traditional way that I do with China variant Xiaomi phones. But now there is one thing I did want to try with this Black Shark 4 Pro before I wrap up my testing with it, and that is do a mini ANTUTU throttling test with this device. So there you see it's 23.9 degrees, and we're going to run 2 ANTUTU benchmarks. Let's see if we get a high score on this device, and then how it throttles after a second test. Let's get started. Okay guys, and what the heck? Is that real? 839,000. And you may have noticed, guys, that ANTUTU benchmark test, that was the China variant test. I don't know what version. I guess it's version 9.0.3. That's the most advanced version of an ANTUTU benchmark I've ever seen. But look at the CPU score. GPU score just off the charts. 839,000. That is incredible. Let's measure the ambient temps of this device. 42.6, and apparently the CPU temp is at around 52.6 degrees. I'm unable to download the CPU monitor for this phone at this time. And screenshotting that score, that is an unbelievable result. But here we go now, test number 2 on the Black Shark 4 Pro. Here we go. Okay guys, and there's test number 2, and what a weird result. That is, I am just so confused guys, because the first result was the highest score I've seen for a Snapdragon AAA phone ever, and now I'm seeing one of the lower scores I've seen for a Snapdragon AAA. And I gotta point out here guys, it says this score has not been verified online. You see the GPU score dropped tremendously here from first to second test, and maybe you noticed there were some tests that occurred the first time that did not occur the second time. So really weird result here. And let's check the ambient temp of the phone. 43.9, 44.2, and I can feel the device is very hot. Call it what you will guys, probably one of the strangest mini throttling tests I've ever seen. I've never had a phone drop over 200,000 points, but there you go. It happened here with the Black Shark 4 Pro. But besides that guys, rounding out the specs of this phone, the battery life has been pretty solid in my testing. Around 4 or 5 hours of screen on time is what I get with a 4,500 milliampere battery. And of course, one of the stars of the show of this device is that 120 watt fast charging, which is pretty incredible. And you get from 0 to 100 in around 15 minutes with this Black Shark 4 Pro. So matching the Mi 10 Ultra before it with an incredibly fast charging time. And not to mention, you know, the audio, the dual speakers of this device are excellent. The comms, you'll have the latest comms of a Snapdragon AAA device, including Bluetooth 5.2, Wi-Fi 6, and yet of course this is the China variant, so you will not have those bands 20 and 28 support on this China variant of the phone. And rounding out the cameras, we have a triple camera setup on this Black Shark 4 Pro, including a 64 megapixel main, 8 megapixel ultra wide, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. And you know what, from my testing, on the day I couldn't actually use this phone as a gaming device, I went out and took some photos, and this phone actually did pretty well considering it's a gaming phone, but you can still take some quality shots here on this Black Shark 4 Pro. Not the reason you'd want to pick up this phone, of course, but it's good to know you'll still have a capable set of cameras on this phone. So that's it guys for this one, and my final verdict on this Black Shark 4 Pro. In the limited time I've had with it, it has been a terrific gaming device, and that's the reason why you would pick this up. Yet for some reason, I think it lacks a little bit of the punch that the Black Shark 3 Pro did. Maybe because that display was so much larger. And if you remember that phone, guys, you went from a 7+ inch display to this pretty generic, I gotta say, 6.67 inch. And ultimately, guys, this phone just feels more like a typical device than an actual unique gaming phone. That I think is a big reason why a lot of you guys pick this phone series up. Because besides the triggers, the gaming influenced Joy UI interface, and this kind of back, this really does feel almost just like a souped up Redmi K40 Pro, but it also does not make this Black Shark 4 as unique a gaming phone as it maybe used to be in previous generations. But hit me up in the comments, what are your thoughts on this Black Shark 4 Pro? And I would have loved to have spent more time on this device But let's face it guys, there's a device that I was not hoping I had to buy, but given the circumstances and the timing of the release, I'm going to have to be selling this phone off to be able to pick up this other phone. I think you know which one it is. Stay tuned guys, and you will have my first look of the Xiaomi Mi 11 Ultra here on Frankie Tech. Stay tuned for that. And that's it for this video. If you liked it, give me that thumbs up. And if you love the content of Frankie Tech, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon for future updates. Stay tuned, like I said, guys. Coming up, Mi 11 Ultra. Let's do it. We're going to give it the full Frankie Tech treatment. Stay tuned for that. So that's it. And this is where I leave you by saying, this is Frankie Tech signing off. Have a good one. A great gaming phone, but it's just not as unique as it used to be.